Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Future Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Donlan. I'm here today with a very special guest, Todd Lamb. Todd, how are you?
I'm very well, Sean. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. Hope you're well.
Yeah, brilliant. No, really appreciate you coming on the podcast. How are you holding up?
Really well. Of course, aside from the usual things that everybody's facing, we've actually, from a business standpoint, been doing very well. We've been able to increase staff and offer some opportunities that didn't exist before. So, we're faring pretty well. Having said that, on a personal level, I like to eat out a fair bit, so I'm kind of looking forward to getting back at it. Especially our West Coast sushi, as you know, it's some of the best in the world, and
Yeah.
I feel a bit deprived.
It's funny that you said that because they opened up the restaurants here this week, and I
Oh.
went for dinner. I went for dinner 3 nights out of the week. Yeah, me and my girlfriend. We were tired of making dinner at home, like everybody else. But yeah, it was nice to have kind of some kind of normality, you know.
Oh, yeah, yeah, good, yeah.
Exactly. So, if you wouldn't mind telling people, I suppose, a little bit about yourself, a little bit about Pure Life. Before I get into that, it must be very interesting now. You said you're hiring people. You must be getting the pick of the bunch.
Sure. Yeah. The talent that's available right now, from a C-suite level all the way down to, people who typically do customer service and that kind of stuff. The talent pool is definitely much more full than it has been at the past. And, you have access to some bright minds that were previously locked up in brick and mortar type situations that, no longer exists. So, we've got people from the oil and gas sector that have come over. Obviously, you know how hard that's been hit here in Canada. So we were able to pull over the COO, who was in fact a CEO of an oil and gas company. So that's exciting. And then really around our subject matter experts from Pure Life, which we can talk about in a minute. We in addition to our teas and vitamins and supplements and all that kind of stuff, we also include subject matter experts in movement. We have somebody who's a yoga specialist, nutritionist, all of these people who kind of found themselves out of work. Um, and so we've been able to bring them on and give them a platform and keep them in a position to sustain, their living.
That's incredible. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very unique times. You're very fortunate, I suppose. Not fortunate. You have a good plan and a good structure in place, I'm sure. But it's nice to be on the opposite side, as opposed to a lot of people that are panicking. And I guess, especially now, people need to improve their immune system. And I think you guys are all about the three pillars of health. So those are the things that are going to keep you healthy. That's when there is no cure and there's no inoculation for
Right.
some.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely want to support people in their health, and going back to your first question around how did it all start. I mean, that's really been my focus. Even, as a young man in the army, I was always interested in the fitness side of it, and so being as fit as you can, um, you know even though that's kind of the typical mind or view of military service, you can still always take it that one step further. And then as I moved from the military and policing and my background in tactical, spending 10 years in my role there, fitness was the cornerstone of the training, aside from tactics and that kind of stuff. Fitness is a critical part, and so having that foundation throughout my public service career, I moved that as I started to become more interested in business and the private sector, and kind of dipping my toe in the water, so to speak. After my wife started to suffer from excruciating back pain as a result of a car accident. She's a police officer as well. She was in a car accident on the job, and it got to the point where she couldn't even exercise anymore. So I really started to explore the value of organic remedies, things like turmeric, to alleviate some of the conditions around inflammation. And often that, the things that happen to us when we age, you guys don't need to worry about it at your age so much yet, but when you start to hit your 40s and late, and creeping up on our 50s here, um, it becomes incredibly important to maintain strong immunity. Um, and that, as you mentioned, around our three pillars, we always start with sleep, then nutrition and exercise. But of all of those, we try to get people really focused on maintaining good sleep, and all of the rest of it kind of flows from that standpoint.
Yeah, I really do. Something that you touched on, the military background, it's something that I'm actually really fascinated with, people like Jocko Willink,
Yeah.
Robbins, these incredibly, driven and successful people who take, I suppose, what the military has been doing for men and women for centuries, molding them, maybe rebellious young adolescents into basically pillars of society, and then those men take those, and yourself as well, take what you've learned in the military, the level of discipline, and take that into the business world, and then as far as I can see, is become almost unstoppable, because when you have the discipline and the drive, and you know what it's like maybe to have your life tested, or to know what combat is like, everything else I wouldn't say is a walk in the park, but it must be a lot easier.
Yeah, well, it's when you're facing a critical situation, and any critical incident that's a life and death type of situation, it definitely crystallizes a lot of things in your mind, um, but some of the things that training teaches you, aside from what you're capable yourself, it certainly teaches you about resilience. And these types of situations that present themselves, whether it's in a micro situation during a critical incident on a call, or a macro level on a global scale with a pandemic. Excuse me. Resilience is critical, and that ability to focus during a situation that has a lot of external variables to it just really comes from being able to be adaptable, being able to address fear, whether it's an acute response, or you have a chronic disposition like anxiety for fear, which is very common in high performers. So um, these are the things that you kind of get to learn how to deal with on a repeated basis, and work through, and it's a very systematic approach. It doesn't differ, aside from maybe the external input. Your response to it really doesn't differ, in a wide variety of ways.
Okay. Um, can you tell us a little bit more about, after your wife's car crash, how you guys, how you and her, how you implemented the three pillars to, improve her overall health?
Yeah, sure. So it was really, what happened was kind of a combination of things. She was in her 40s, had the back injury. So you have the change in hormonal profile, which is very common for women around that age, and then the inability to exercise due to chronic back pain. And so what I wanted to figure out was really a health protocol that would allow her to start to reduce inflammation and have her body function in an optimized way. So I developed um, basically a home brewed organic tea, and we started her on that. She started to feel better. And then from there, I started to change her eating protocol. Um, and you know, as time progressed, she ended up losing over 54 pounds. And, you know, once you drop that kind of weight, and, you know, people can talk about calories in, calories out. There's also a hormonal cascade that happens at that age that you have to address as well. You know, I know women that eat 800 calories a day and are still putting on weight, and it just defies logic. You know, their basal metabolic rate should tell you otherwise, but you know, there's just a lot of things going on. So what we did with her was got her on this tea, and so we replaced her breakfast with a high energy anti-inflammatory tea that I developed from a bunch of proprietary ingredients, and then changed her overall eating protocol. And from there, I started to test it on some friends. And you know, one of my friends ended up losing 84 pounds. And so then I knew we were kind of onto something. And I thought, okay, well, let's test it a few more times. We put it out to another 6 people and the same results. And so then we ended up launching the program, and we just kind of taught people how to eat, and you know, started their day off with this home brewed tea. And from there, you know, once we figured out we could mass produce the tea, which ended up being called Flat Belly Tea, um, we launched our whole brand because, um, you know, the ability to lose weight. If you don't sleep properly, you physiologically will not lose weight. All weight loss occurs during sleep, and you know, the very important regenerative state of your cells and your memory, all of that kind of stuff happens during a specific type of sleep. And if you're blocking that, you know, whether it's a couple glasses of wine at night, or you know, blue light is absolutely horrid to have in your bedroom. All of these different components that can interrupt the most important part of your sleep will affect, you know, the downstream fat loss from a physiological standpoint, but also from a psychological standpoint. When people are exhausted, it's hard sometimes to say no to, you know, that comfort food, or that you know, temptation that's coming your way. So
Yeah. Um, in relation to the blue light and the sleep, how much sleep do you recommend, and how long before you go to sleep should you practice sleep hygiene? And when I say sleep hygiene, I mean stay away
yeah.
from blue light.
Yeah, well, we so to first couple questions, it isn't always about quantity, it's more about quality. So there is recommended sleep, anything kind of after a 5 hour, 6 hour time frame, provided you've hit the N3 phase of sleep during that. You can function completely fine, and have, you know, your systems regenerate, your cells regenerate, all of the important things that happen during that period. So it's going to differ, you know. I'm an early to bed guy, and you know, I'm kind of in that 7.5 hour range, but I'm up early. Other people, you know, are to bed late, but and
What time do
rise a little
you
later.
wake up?
Say again, sorry.
What time do you wake up?
Uh, Anywhere between 4 and 4:30. And you know, that's not for everybody. I just like the silence of the morning. It's absolutely
Yeah.
fantastic, right? It's when I think the clearest. I have no distractions, you know. But the the quality is more important than the quantity. And then from a shutdown sequence, when should you start kind of thinking about sleep? 2.5 to 3 hours before bed, you want to start winding down. Certainly from a psychological standpoint, you want to have, if there's been a disagreement at work, or if there's a project that you need, or that final thing, you want to button that stuff up before you start thinking in bed. Otherwise, you know, like any of us have experienced, your brain is going to spin, and you're just not going to be able to find that sleep. So from there, you want to start to shut down um, whether it's a television or whether it's, screen time and on social media, you should ideally be giving yourself a couple hours break. And then if you need to have your phone in your room for an alarm clock or whatever, you should have it on airplane mode at the very least. For me, religiously, 8 o'clock every night, the phone goes out of the room and is on airplane mode. So, um, any of those interruptions that can potentially cause that disruption in sleep should be avoided. But water, even, you want to stop that a couple hours, particularly if you have a bit more of an active bladder, because waking up to go to the bathroom is equally as disturbing. So everything kind of in a 2 hour window should allow you to get a proper sequence in.
I'm guilty of that, having a big glass of water before I go to bed, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, look up then. What is N3 phase sleep?
So you go through 4 phases of sleep, and without getting you have N1, N2, N3, and without getting super technical on it, that is the point at which your body is doing cell regeneration. It's creating all of the memories, compiling memory, all of that sort of thing, as opposed to the other phases where you're sort of light, and then you dip in and out of the N1, N2 phases, REM sleep, all of that kind of stuff. But N3 is as they allocate the different phases and what happens physiologically in your body. It's just a period during which your body is doing all of its regeneration to keep it simple and easily understood.
Okay. And how is your wife now?
Oh, good. Yeah. So, we're both creeping up on 50 here this year. And
You look good.
um,
Late 40s, good man.
well, thank you. So active, there is a difference in what we could do now, versus what we could do in our 20s. I would say I'm doing a lot of the same stuff, but my recovery is very different. So for her, it's a lot of, really maintaining mobility, really focused on breathing. If you're going to do something where it's a high level of activity, or she's going to do something that's a high level of activity, there's a very good warm up period, and that's really what I've found as I've progressed through the various decades. It's not that I can't do the things; I can still do the things. It's just the recovery and the build up or lead up towards it. It definitely takes longer, and I find that when I'm sore from a session in the gym, I'm a lot more sore than, or it takes 2-3 days to recover from a heavy lift versus maybe you're ready to rock the next day kind of thing.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about Pure Life? You know, a little bit more about the maybe the holistic approach that you guys. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So Pure Life Organics is really about, to put it succinctly, creating healthy people. It's that simple. And so from our 3 pillars of sleep, nutrition, and exercise, we offer various products. So for sleep, we offer a holistic tea called Sleep Slim Tea, which really is comprised of the various ingredients that naturally promote healthy sleep and deep sleep. And then, for flat belly, for example, that's the morning tea, and it's anti-inflammatory. And then we have various topical products for pain. And then, in addition to that, we support those products through different protocols. So whether it's a movement protocol, or whether it's light exercise, or whether it's more advanced exercise. So we always try to support our remedies with something that's tangible and that people can actually deploy to be effective, rather than just kind of a pill or potion that is suggested to be magical. It's a combination of the three elements, and that's what we, as we decided to move more into that organic, holistic approach to helping people optimize their health. We also wanted to focus on giving them the resources they need to, if especially now when you can't go to a chiropractor, you can't go to an athletic therapist or a physio. We have those subject matters on staff providing content at at our on our Instagram channel and all of these different avenues to get to people, right? Provide them that value.
So in relation to the reducing inflammation, obviously you tease and now from my experience, when I eat a carby diet or sugars, things like that, I bloat a bit. I
Mm-hmm.
bloat, I get aches and pains and sore joints, things like that. I actually had a really bad injury last year, and I kind of fractured my collarbone. Um, and I went on a lower carb diet, kind of cut out sugars, and the difference that it made was astonishing. I was maybe
Yeah.
12 weeks where I was in this pain, and then reduced. No, I did a few things. I did, physio and stretching routines, but the reduction of the sugars and the carbohydrates made a huge difference. Do you guys promote a lower carb diet, or is it more of a balanced diet? You see a lot of people with paleo or keto, and
Yeah.
they really do praise these diets, and they say that they can help with things like epilepsy in children, and you do
Sure.
why, but they can help with epilepsy in children, help with arthritis, help with eczema, skin conditions. Is that something that you've come across?
Absolutely. So we don't promote one style of eating over another. We promote a style of nutrition that suits the situation or suits the individual, both from a compliance standpoint in terms of their ability to effectively deploy that type of eating protocol in their own life, and then for hormonal profile. I mean, if we're going to deep dive it, we can go as far as connecting them with one of our subject matter experts to get blood work. But in the absence of that, low carb, there's excessive amounts of science that show refined sugars, refined carbohydrates increase inflammation. And on an anecdotal level, from the results that we've got from our test cases and people who have done the flat belly fix protocol, for example, they've had wild success, and they report lower A1C, which is a marker for diabetics. They report thousands of pounds lost from all of the we've run over 400,000 people through this protocol, and those that are compliant have success. And to your point, do we see advantages in a low carb lifestyle? Yes, absolutely, because in today's society, by and large, the carbohydrates form probably too much in terms of daily meal intake and the components of healthy eating. Now, from an athletic standpoint, a low carb diet, high fat diet is really catered more to somebody who is doing distance sports, versus though an athlete or somebody who can do very well. They don't have insulin resistance, any of these types of issues around sugar, and they're doing a lot of lifting, and their body can utilize the glycogen that's stored in the muscles and the liver, and they're running optimally. So a high carb diet is no problem. So balance in everything.
Yeah.
I've said that time and time again, whether it's nutrition or just living life, balance is in anything is found in the middle, right? Like anytime we see extremes, people that they see an extreme success, for the most part, excuse me, for the most part, they'll find themselves rebounding extremely the other way, even beyond where they started.
Yeah.
These these things can be utilized for effective results, and then you need to monitor closely to be able to optimize it in an ongoing way. So there's a variety of protocols. I'm a big fan of the Mediterranean protocol. I like low carb, high fat. I've done anything that we've ever rolled out to people. I've tested extensively myself. So there's lots of different things that work for everybody, for sure.
Great. So we're out of time. So before we go, I ask everybody a question. That was a quick 25 minutes. I ask everybody a
Yeah.
question. If you were giving advice to somebody starting off now, young entrepreneur, somebody who maybe wants to kind of follow in the industry that you're going in, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, just starting off. I mean, be be passionate about it. Be a master of your craft. Like, don't go jumping into something because it seems like it might be a good idea. Because once you start to deep dive the business behind, all of these things that we're doing, in e-commerce and all that kind of stuff, you'd really want to be loving, your customers at the end of the day. So if you don't have a passion for the people that you're going to be interacting with, it's going to become very difficult to sustain uh, your interest when you end up having to deal with the actual business of the business, which is customer service. It's different platforms, technology, all that kind of stuff. So but when you love what you're doing at the end of the day, all of those things come naturally, and then you're able to find people to look after these things on your behalf. But definitely um, find something that you enjoy doing, when you wake up each day. And that's simple, and I don't mean to make it you know uh, just kind of that every statement we always hear that, but it really is true, right?
Yeah, it's true.
And you've
There's a lot
got
of
lots of time to figure it out. Sorry, say it again.
I said there's a lot of truth to that statement. That's why people say it.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough.
Brilliant. Listen, thank you so much. If people would like to find you guys online or you personally, where should they go?
Sure, they can find us at purelifeorganics.com. And then for me, you can go at follow Todd Lamb on Instagram, or purelife.organics on Instagram. And we put up a lot of content daily there for um, just general health, for people to enjoy. So any of those locations would be great.
Right. Thank you so much.
Okay, Sean, thanks so much.
Appreciate it. Bye bye.